Today's lesson is on distribution of data. A distribution of data shows the frequency of each possible data value. The shape of a distribution can be determined by looking at its histogram. So we have different ways it can be presented. So first, if the data is evenly distributed, then we call this symmetric. When we look at big sets of data, they tend to look something like this, where if this is my mean, and then the further you get away from the mean, there's less of them. But if the data is not symmetric, we say it is skewed. Okay, so if the majority of the data is on the right, we say that it is negatively skewed. So I'm going to call this part the tail. If the tail is on the negative side, then it's negatively skewed. If the tail is on the positive side, it is positively skewed. Okay, so we're going to let the calculator do the histogram for us. Okay, so we're going to enter in all of our data here. So remember, we do stat, edit. If there's anything in your list, you want to highlight the list number and hit clear, enter, and then you're going to enter in all 36 data points for this. So we have our data here, all 36 data points. Okay. Next, what you're going to do, above the y equals, there's a little button that says stat plot. New second stat plot. We're going to go, I've got 2 on here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that one off. Go back to plot 1. So plot 1, I want it to be on. And we have a variety of different options here. So we've got a dot, a line. This third one is our histogram. So that's what we're going to do. You want to go to your y equals and make sure that there's nothing in here, because if there is, that might disrupt our graph. Then you're going to go to zoom. And this one down here, zoom 9, is what we're going to use. It's going to make us a nice window. Okay, so this one, our tail is kind of this way. It's kind of favoring the right. So this is negatively skewed. Okay, so you can go ahead and try the next 2. Enter in that data, do the histogram, and see if the data is skewed. When you graph this one, you end up with a positive skew. The tail is on the positive side of things, and then this one is negatively skewed. We can also see skewed data looking at a box and whisker plot. So the spread of a box and whisker plot, so a box and whisker plot is our 5-number summary. So there's our minimum, Q1, median, Q3, maximum. The center would be the median in this case. So if it's negatively skewed, that means the negative side of it is going to be stretched out here. Symmetric is what it sounds like. Positively skewed, the positive side is stretched out. Okay, so again, we're going to enter in, these are 36 data points again, so stat, edit. We're going to clear the data that's in there and enter it in. And so on. So you enter in your data. We're going to again go to second stat plot, and now we're going to change the type of graph to a box and whisker. I'm going to go ahead and do box and whisker without the outliers, and then do a zoom stat, and there's my box and whisker. So since this side of the graph is longer, we say this is negatively skewed. Okay, you go ahead and try the next one. This one, when we graph it, it looks pretty darn symmetric. When we look at skewed data, if our data is symmetric, the mean and the median are going to occur at the same place. But if it's not, so here's a net positively skewed data, the tail is this direction, the median's going to be about here. The mean's going to be slightly above that because these things are going to pull that mean away from the median. Conversely, negative skewed, the mean's going to be less than that. So kind of a rule of thumb is after you determine the shape of the distribution, if the distribution is symmetric, the mean and standard deviation are good values to be used. If the distribution is skewed or has outliers, we want to use the 5-number summary to describe the data. So we're going to describe the center and spread of the data using either the mean and standard deviation or the 5-number summary. Justify your choice by constructing a box and whisker plot for the data. So we're going to go ahead and enter in those data points. So I've entered my data into the calculator. Then we're going to go to stat plot. We're still plotting a box and whisker, so we're good there. So I'm just going to go to zoom 9. Okay, and this is positively skewed. Okay, which means we want to use the 5-number summary to describe. Okay, and the nice thing is here, when you have the box and whisker, you don't have to do the one variable statistics. You can just trace, and it's going to tell you our minimum is 26. Q1, we'll go over, is 35. Median is 42, so that would be my center is 42. Q3 is 55, and my max is 73. So we can use this information to describe our data. Okay, so some things I can say, like our median is 42, so that's going to be my center. I can find the range to show one type of spread, so 73 minus 26. So I have a range of 47, and then I can use the interquartile range. Half of the data is between 35 and 55. Okay, go ahead and do the last one. When you do this one, it ends up being pretty darn symmetric. And if that's the case, we're going to use the mean and the standard deviation to represent our data. So you do the one variable statistics. You get 40.6 for your mean and a standard deviation of 13.0. So that is 9.4 distributions of data.